Do you have fellow fair board members or board members and staff from the same fair at the table? Okay, will you please trade with someone else? And try not to be at a table with someone from your fair. It may be hard with this small group.
Does anybody want to trade with me?
You as your man, you want to trade with her? Are you going to have the same fair? Oh, we'll just move you to the bees. Yeah, keep that table there. You still only have to be there. Okay, perfect.
No, I can't. She's already over there. Okay, I'll trade you.
Just wear that right there. Anybody else?
Okay, everybody, I want to thank you all. I hope you all had a great lunch. Everybody enjoyed their lunch? Thank you for the County Fair Board for the fantastic lunch. So this next program is very exciting. It is brought to you by the Western Fairs Association and the Blue Ribbon Foundation that is run through Western Fairs. So we are kind of their guinea pig. They've been doing it at WFA convention, and so when we got the opportunity to have it here, we were pretty excited. So I want to introduce you to Rebecca Desmond. Rebecca is a former fair manager from the Siskiyou Golden Fair, California. She was on the WFA board, and now you work for
California Fair Services Authority.
California Fair Services Authority. And so she goes out and does things for fairs throughout the state of California. And then we also have Bill Blair. Many of you already know Bill. Bill is a former fair manager, and also he is now a fair board member. He's switched sides.
Dark side.
He's on the dark side now. He is a board member at the Benton County Fair. So we are going to be starting our session now. Does everybody have this little book in front of you? All right. And in your blue packets that you got in registration, you should have this strategic leadership handout. So if you don't have your little blue book, get your blue book. Al, do you need a card? You got a card? What are you looking for? What's on your card?
Yeah, we're all left it.
What picture?
What's the picture?
Like you don't know numbers, but this picture. Come on, Karen.
Tree over there. Al is a tree. Okay, so I'm going to hand the microphone back to Rebecca and we'll get started.
Thank you, Leah. Well, I want to thank the Oregon Fairs Association on behalf of WFA and the Blue Ribbon Foundation for inviting us here to conduct a strategic leadership training with you all. Being a fair board member is a very, very important role when it comes to fairs. And we understand that y'all don't get paid in cash that we know of. You volunteer, you're all very busy people, and you're truly appreciated in the industry, and you help keep it going. That being said, as often happens in California, and I'm sure it happens in Oregon too, a lot of people get appointed to fair boards, and they get a nice appointment letter from the county commissioners or the governor or somebody that's like, wow. And then you're, said to go to your first meeting, and you have nobody sends you with any tools, or this is what you do, or this is what the fair's about, or anything. So this is session was developed by the leadership training committee from WFA to try to help get some education out there for fair board members on how to work with your fair. And it's not be a better member, or if you're new, you don't know what you're doing, or if you've been on the fair board for a long time, you don't know any new stuff. It's just, it's never too late to learn anything and how to work as a group and work as a group with your staff. So that's the main point of this training. So to that end, I would like to kind of find out who all is in the room. So raise your hand if you are on a fair board. Okay, raise your hand if you're staff. Okay, raise your hand if you are a CEO. Okay, great. So like I said, we kind of have a mix here. So one rule for CEOs.
We call them managers.
Managers, sorry, that's in California for a government job. Is try to answer the questions last. I know, I was a CEO for 10 years, and I know, I used to say, oh, yeah, this is what we do at my fair. Try to let the directors, start the initial conversation. You can help, Dawn, but just don't force yourself. Okay. So then I want to find out how many people, I want to know how many years of experience we have in here. So who's been involved with a fair for less than a year? Cool. Okay. Who's been involved with a fair for less than 5 years? Okay. 10?
Less than 10?
Less than 10. 20. What are we getting up there? Okay, anybody been with the fair for 30 or more years? All right. Okay, so we have a whole plethora of ranges of experience, okay? And so you look at it this way, we have some real veterans in here who have been in the fair business for a long time. They have a lot of insight. We have several newbies who always bring that fresh perspective. You get the forest for the trees kind of vision. And so it's nice to have new folks coming to the table and asking, why is it that we do it that way? And the answer is not because we've always done it that way. Okay? All right. So, Leah and Bill are up here today because this will probably be the last time you guys ever see me do this unless you come to WFA convention. They are going to be available to do this type of training in Oregon and Washington. So if you guys want to take this back to your fairs, or if you have other regional areas you would like to do it, or other groups, you can contact them. And so that's why they're helping out today. Let's see. Okay, everybody has a guidebook and a workbook? Yes. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. There is a number on your cards. These are 9. Okay, if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, that is the principle that you will be dealing with in this book that has 10 principles. Okay? So, the way the format's going to go is you have 45 minutes when I tell you go, don't go yet, to read. You take the first part. First, I want you guys to introduce yourselves amongst each other if you haven't already. And then you will read the principle either to yourself, or you can elect someone in your group to read it out loud, however you all want to do it. And you read the principle first, and then you look at the exercise that's included in the workbook. And then after the 45 minutes, we're going to have each group report out and discuss what they learned, what their exercise was. And that way you will all have a brief synopsis of each of the 10 principles. I highly encourage you to, next week or so, read this whole thing cover to cover. Work with the workbook on the other principles if you want. This is really good stuff. How many in here have ever taken a board session from Bill Charney at WFA or IFE or? Oh, nobody has. Okay. It's really great stuff. He served on the fair board for several years, so he writes it from a knowing perspective. And it really boils down to a lot of the stuff that on the first part of your workbook, after all the thank yous and we really appreciate everybody who helped us do this and blah, blah, blah. On page 4 of the workbook, which is, the workbook is the big 8.5 by 11. This is the guidebook. Sorry, I don't want to get you guys mixed up. But it says boards that lead and succeed in a guide to effective board leadership. But there's some key components and concepts of how important it is to be a board member and some of the big things that you need to look at. And again, this is the 30,000-foot view of coming in as a board member. And governance is your job, delegation is your job. It lists three characteristics of delegation, and that you set policy and management implements policy. So that's one of the key things, is knowing where the board's job ends and the management staff's job begins. And sometimes it's a very blurry line. So, okay, so we're going to do a time check. Bill, what is your time?
12:41.
Okay, 12:41. So, you all have 45 minutes to start working. If you get stumped, you have questions, raise your hand. The 3 of us are here to walk around and assist you in any way we can. But have fun.
they all going to be on page 5?
Okay, tell them what, that's a good idea. Tell them what.
Okay, so, sorry, principle 1, page 5, the first question is, do you have written job descriptions for your board? And on our group here, we had 5 counties. One county has yes, one has a current in process, and the other 3 are no. So, that's a question to you guys. Number 2, do all of your board members understand the fair's financial statements? The general consensus on that was no. County finances, generate a report, those can be cumbersome to read, and etc. The one thing we glean from that, which kind of goes on to some other principle, is that remember your board should have a procedure or a policy about how to purchase things, that board members don't single-handedly have the power to go get things that makes your financial records out of whack. Number 3, does your board perform self-evaluations? All of us had a no on that. Number 4, does your board have a job description for your board chair? That went hand in hand with number 1 with yes on one county, and the other one is kind of in process, and the other 3 no, not really. And then number 5, are you aware of any requirements for training? And because of the slice that we have here, through county access, yes, those trainings are notified to county employees, but as a board where everybody's mostly volunteer, technically we decided, our recommendation was to come up with the county attorney needs to come and visit probably all of their boards that they have in the county and do a real definition of ethics, your conflicts of interest, what was our others? Things that are personal, financial gain, those kinds of things. Maybe somebody's donated something to your fairgrounds, but they can borrow it back. That's really not a kosher thing.
Okay, no questions, that's what we have.
Anybody have any questions or discussions or? How many boards in here have a job description for your board? Are these all on your board?
No.
Okay, that's good. That's very rare, and it's nice to see that some do. It's a good idea. Again, it's, like you said, you get appointed to a board and you don't really know what you're going to be doing. So I think it certainly helps. Self-evaluations, I hardly know any boards that do those either, but it's kind of a good idea. You can do one, there's several of them online. You can do them for individual board members and also for the board as a whole. So I recommend that. And then on the financial statements, we put that in there because that is really key. I'll tell you, on my board, we had an accountant. He was a great guy, but the rest of the board, when it would come to the financials, would say, hey, Mike, what do you think? Does it look good? And if Mike said yes, then they were good. If he said no, then they weren't. They didn't even read it. And so we spent a lot of time working on trying to get them a financial report that they would understand. I'm not a numbers person. It took a lot to get me to understand it. And when it comes from the county office, yeah, good luck with that. So maybe if you all got together and said, hey, we really need something that these folks can understand, that would help. Because when it comes down the line and your CEO, they retired or you fired him or whatever, and then your fair is upside down by $300,000, and you're like, well, how did that happen? And you're the ones who are responsible for it. So as board members. Okay, no other questions on this one? Okay, where's number 2? Oh, wait, first. Round of applause for the principal number. Thank you, very good. Number 2.
On the end.
Okay. Here we go. Did you get the short straw?
I did. Okay, number 2, first question was, how does your fair reach out to segments of the community that don't currently participate in the fair at a significant level or at all? And our number 1 answer was, set the policy and get the hell out of the way. But no, we just, let them do their job. And number 2, are you a member of other organizations that interact with the fair? And there are several that said yes. How do you address the conflict? Again, you're on 2 boards, and so, we really didn't address that one very much. Then on number 4, you know, being part of the Rotary and your gross receipts were up 22%. There was, you know, nobody really had a problem with that. Your child is a member of a local 4-H club. The fair wants to increase entry fees for livestock exhibitors, and we said don't do it because that's our generation that's coming up. If you penalize a lot of these kids, you're eliminating that reaching out to our youth. So we don't feel that that's right.
Okay, do we have any questions on this? Okay, again, so this is board loyalty, so most of you who are on the boards because you're community leaders and you're involved in a lot of different things, right? And it's hard, you know, you're a member of the Rotary has a contract for the beer booth, fair wants the percentage to go up, and you're like, but we do such wonderful things, you know, as a fair manager, the worst thing you hear from people, well, we're a nonprofit. Yeah, well, guess what the fair is? You know, it's a nonprofit too, so.
Paid to be, but we are.
That's right. So it's difficult. There's, you know, when you're at the fair board, you got to put on your fair board hat. When you're at the Rotary board, you put on the Rotary board hat. But sometimes it's really, really hard. And it's just more to bring awareness that these things can happen, but you have to make sure that, you know, when you're doing the fair board's business, it's the fair that's got priority. Okay. All right. Round of applause for principal number 2. Thank you. Where's number 3? Did we go in order? Look at this. Here we go.
So, first question for us was, does your fair purposely host community leaders? And I think the first question we need to ask is that, you know, community leaders, we need a definition of that. It's not just political leaders. There's a lot of folks in the community that are leaders of our community. And out of the 4 fairs here, we all do recognize the significant folks of the fair each year. Some of the examples are award ceremonies, award certificates, plaques of recognition, recognition publicly, some of that sponsorship recognition. So, does your fair have a significant community partnership? And I think there's not a fair out there that does not. We wouldn't be successful if we weren't in partnerships in the community. Be it Kiwanis, be it the NJROTC, from the high school, the band, different groups. It just is not going to happen without those folks. And anybody that doesn't recognize that probably need to get out of business. So, please cite some examples we just did. NJROTC, Chamber of Commerce. It's just you need to be out in front of these folks and have a partnership with them and continue growing those partnerships as you go along. Generally, the folks in the community respects what you do out there every day, and to have those partnerships and to create them and keep them and hold them and cherish them is something that we need to do.
Any questions or comments?
How about a church group with, you know, youth and so on and so forth, park cars and sell tickets and all that kind of stuff? That really has worked for us. I mean, that touches a lot of people really quick.
Did everybody hear Al? Using a church group to help you park cars, sell tickets, things like that? Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, again, it's, you know, the purpose of the board. I'm not going to do the comments yet. The purpose of the board, you know, is you guys are really ambassadors out in the community. You know, a lot of people belong to other groups and stuff like that, but bringing people on board and getting the community involved. And you're right, there aren't too many who are out of touch, but you would be surprised. There are some fairs out there that, you know, they don't even talk with their city council members, and they're, you know, 3 blocks from City Hall. Pretty sad. Anyway, okay, round of applause for principal number 2.
Apparently we're all pushovers because we didn't, are just speaking with one voice with the fair board and maybe having conflicts during the meeting. We apparently have really good boards because none of us could come up with anything, so we can skip number 2. I think it's kind of the same answer for most of them, but there's your community procedure budget, board is a single voice. We all said yes, we thought they did. Most of the time it's our president or whoever's, head of the board. And then how does your board direct the CEO and staff? We said through meetings and conversations in the meetings, something else, but that's pretty much what we have. Oh, and John.
And job description. Okay. Questions, comments? Okay, this is one of the real key principles is the speaking with one voice. The last thing that you want out in the community is, board member Q saying, the board just decided that we're going to raise entry fees for all livestock kids, but I voted against it. They're all a bunch of idiots. I'm the smart one, but I got outnumbered, so sorry, but it's not my fault. If you've been on the downside of a vote, that's democracy, that's the way it works. When you walk out the door out of that board meeting, this is what the board decided. Same thing with CEOs of boards, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but at the end of the day, it's whatever the board decides, that's what you're gonna do. So it's real important to speak with one voice, and then the community perceives you, that you guys are a community and you got your act together. And communicating with the CEO is, and delegating is just critical that it's the board of the CEO and CEO takes care of staff. So, any other questions, comments? Okay, round of applause for number 4. And here's my great group that got the worst one ever. They have like 6 pages of stuff for principle number 5. Who's going to speak?
Yeah, I think we really got the short straw on this one. In our case study, we felt that the board made decisions after their situation, but the key step that was missing in all of this was that they didn't meet first to establish written policies and operational process. So that's what we would do, which means we would establish who reports to who for what and when and under what circumstances before we ever proceeded to make the decisions that had to be made to plan for the next fair.
Thank you very much. They had a scenario on entertainment booking, right? That's always a big deal, right? A lot of board members like to be involved with entertainment booking. It's a very complicated process. In fact, in their scenario, there was a board member who went and found their own booking agent outside the fair and had them call and book an act without going through the booking agent that was contracted to the fair to do it. It was quite messy, but anyway. And it is, written policies and procedures, and then you have parameters for everyone, and everyone knows what they're supposed to do, and it just makes it a lot easier. So thank you very much, principle number 5. You guys have a lot of work. Round of applause. Any questions? Sorry, I forgot to ask. Comments, questions? Okay. 6.
Authoritative service member, apparently. That's right. Okay, so what are the top 3 impacts your fair has on the community it serves? So our group came up with items surrounding education, so history and heritage of the community, showcasing exhibits and projects of exhibitors. So the educational mission. The second one gives the community a place to gather and party. One fair described it as the community's living room. And the third one is economic development. So many aspects year-round at the fair itself, of course, and then year-round economic development in the community as well. So those are our 3. Does your board have a mission statement? The answers were either no or we might have.
Do you feel your mission statement is currently and or relevant? And the answers were not applicable or probably not. Do you discuss your mission or vision statement regularly at board meetings? And that was no. Do we need more commentary or discussion? I think Brandon has quite a bit. Okay, so that's it.
All right, so mission statements and vision statements. Mission statements are pretty important. I know some fairs, I've seen it, it's on their letterhead. They print it on their agenda, which I wish I had thought of that when I was a fair manager. And then discussing it at the board meeting is another, it's just the whole reason that you're all there and you're all working so hard, and sometimes you need to bring it back and focus.
Yeah, there is something I should have added to that. We had quite a discussion about this. Henry brought up an example with another organization going through the process of developing a mission statement and vision statement and so forth. And talked about a really good way to motivate actually using and living those documents. And one was that as they were developed, it was stated that for this company, the vision statement was going to be printed on the side of all their vehicles, and the mission statements were going to be on the front door of all their buildings. And so that motivated development of quality document, first of all, and also, since it was out there every day for both employees and the public to see, the company actually lived those things. So that was a really important thing. If you do it, you have to come up with good ones. They have to be good, workable documents, and then you have to live by it. So on the agenda is a good idea. I think even better one is every building on your fairgrounds should have these things in, large senior citizen size type, that everybody, not just you, but everybody in your community, anybody who uses or visits your fairground sees them.
Love that, okay. Any other comments or questions on this? All right, round of applause. Thank you very much, good job.
Okay, ours is number 7, and when I first read it, parameters to empower and control, the word control concerned me. And now after listening from 1 to 6, what we realized was, how does your board delegate to the CEO? The first thing that we all ended up discussing is we felt like we needed to define what the job of the board was. And you can't really go forward with success if the board doesn't know what its job is and the board isn't partnering with the CEO. As far as accountability, it's a two-way street.
Accountability, that was my question. How is the CEO held accountable to the board's direction? Well, at our monthly meetings, our director has a director's report where she talks about what she's done since our last board meeting, and also discusses maybe some decisions we've made and the progress that's being made on those decisions that were made by the board. And of course, we also perform an annual review of our director. Next is Don.
Do you have precise parameters for the CEO to operate within? I think it's really important that you set precise parameters and speak with, if the board needs to speak with one voice and not all the board to the CEO, but they need to set parameters so that the CEO will know which direction to go in, so he can be, as it states above, a virtual corral for him, because it gives him directions, and it makes it possible for the CEO to succeed.
So what we came up with the example was is that number one, we realized coming in at 7 that the board has to speak with one voice, and that it really needs to be in writing what the directive is for him to be him or her to be accountable. And that was the most important part of your, you monthly can have an updated report, but originally it's not set up, as a statement of what the task is. How can we have accountability? And then it's all just, verbally, with no accountability to the board in their comments back and forth.
So another example is in our county, we have a fair board that's delegated the operation of the fair to Friends of the Fair group, which is what we do. So they have a hands-off, we operate it, and they're happy, we're happy.
Well, what we learned here, because everybody has a different opinion of your history of what you've been doing, but I'm a new board member of 3 months, and why I was invited to become part of the board is because I'm not a 4-H'er, I'm not the mom who's worried about the equestrian, team. I'm not emotionally connected. I got into it because our commissioners wanted to shut down our fairgrounds, and I wanted to help our fair manager save the fairgrounds. So what we did and what helped our manager was to understand that having a marketing plan is part of being a manager. And it took a while for the board before I was on the board, for the board to understand what that even meant. And so they began partnering with not just the fair, but the facility.
Okay, awesome. Questions, comments? Okay, how many boards annually evaluate their CEO? We used to. Okay, it's really critical. I mean, as a CEO, you don't know what the board's looking for and what you're being, it can be, everything's going along just fine, as long as you're not looking for any more money, we don't need to talk about it. It helps the whole direction of the fair, and everybody's on the same page. So I highly encourage you to evaluate your CEO on an annual basis. And then start, you end it with, okay, this is what we're looking for next year. And it just, as you test, it makes a big difference, and it just certainly helps. But, okay, round of applause, Principal number 7. Thank you very much, good job. Number 8. Who's 8? Are you guys 8?
We were 10.
I know the B's are 9.
E9.
Bingo!
Okay, in our deal here, addressing big concerns before small ones. Question 1 was, and it has to do with policies. Please give an example of a broad policy and an example of a policy, of a specific policy following the guidelines in the guidebook. One of the policies we were discussing was like no smoking in certain areas, or having a no smoking fairgrounds or whatever. We have no policy at that point at this facility. We are now starting to bring that on. Some of the others that I was speaking with here said, yes, they have no smoking on their fairgrounds, and I think that's a great idea. We all feel that that's something that should be taken into effect, as well as animal rights, alcohol, ADA, those things that need to be covered where people understand, and the board understands what that actually means. Do we have written policies? I think every board or every fair has written policies that specifically address certain things that they have come to agree on. And are they up to date? Yes, they are. We have one person that takes care of that for us every year and takes and gives that to the OFA so that they know that we are up to date where we need to be.
you. So everybody submits their policies to OFA? Is that how that works? Oh, you submit. I like that idea. Because, you know, a lot of fair boards, you know, you have policies and your policy book's this big and the ones that are current are like this big. So, but it does, it helps you decide where and when you're going. Okay, any comments or questions? Principal number 8. Round of applause, please.
Okay, please.
Hi, I'm Rita Hogan from Tillamook County, and our topic, maintaining a CEO accountability. Well, this is rather ironic, because Tillamook has not been able to maintain a CEO for the last 3 years, let alone hold anybody accountable. So, it's rather interesting. We have Dolores from Columbia County. They have no CEO. And then we have Tim from Crook, sorry. And they do have a good relationship going on. So we were all over the board, and I will just go back a little bit about Tillamook. We had the best fair manager in Oregon State history for over 20 years, and when I came on the board, it was awesome. It was fun. Jerry was in control. He was where we wanted him. The fair board listened to what Jerry had to say. We gave him our ideas. He always went forward with it. It was a piece of cake. Obviously, we have struggled the last 3 years, and the fair board has had to step up and not only be the board, but also be the manager. And it's been hard because there's a fine line. Now that I'm happy to say we have a new fair manager on board. If you haven't met him yet, he's John Davey, and we're very proud that he's been with us a month so far, and he's still there. But we know we have our work cut out for us, because accountability is where we kind of faltered in the past. Having a new fair board, having a new manager. And you must realize, we also have a new manager, we have a new commissioner liaison, and we also have 4 new board members. So we really haven't got it all figured out yet. But I think one of the places we went wrong was not following through with accountability. We didn't have to basically do anything when we had Jerry as a fair manager, because he was on top of everything. And not holding our new fair managers accountable and just assuming that they were doing the job led to problems. So there's a fine line of how much information and how much time we share with our new manager and try not to manage. And I know that it's going to take a board effort, but we also have to educate our new board members. Our county commissioner has so far been no help at all. And so it's really tough, because we had everything going for us and we turned a complete circle. And we've been struggling but maintaining. And I think that the one thing that everyone is aware of, Tillamook County has one of the best fairs, and the fair board can definitely put on a fair. So what we're looking at is, let me get back, because now I got off on that. I need to get back to this. But does your fair board have committees? Yes, we have committees as far as for the fair. We don't have other committees, and these committees for Tillamook are led by the board members. So yes, we have a racing board person who gets his helpers, which would be his committee. We have carnival, we have superintendents, and now with the 4 new fair board coming on, our committees really have not developed yet, and we're just going to help each other out and see where the best fit is. So the one thing that Tillamook could not do without is their many volunteers. And for that, we have a very huge list of volunteers, and a lot of our volunteers are repeat, and they all know their jobs, and for that, it's helped us get through this tough time. As far as the board, we're a working board, and so we're in charge of the committees, and then we get the volunteers to help us. We don't have, we're also the operators and the ones that are in charge. So working forward with our new manager, I think that he has a lot to take in and digest, and hopefully he will be able to take us for the next 20 years, and that's what we're looking forward to. So I'm going to let the other two, because we're so completely different, I mean, you know, with the way the three of us made up this committee, that they might have some different input for you, and then we can take questions.
Yeah, she pretty much said everything that I've got written down. As a fair board, we put together the fair with a lot of return volunteers, as do you. And what we've done is meet every Saturday, starting in March, to keep the lines of communication open. And we've all chosen to take on a responsibility of heading a specific part of the fair. And some people have taken on a lot more than others, but it's getting done. It's getting done. And I say on number 2 that they're board assistant and operating committees. So we have the privilege of having retired fair board members who have happily taken, well, I think happily, taken over some of the office duties, and Mary Ann spends a day in the office a week.
Oh, wow. My turn. Thank you. I've got that piece of cake that Rita was talking about earlier. Casey took off. Where'd Casey go? So I've been on the board since January, and I've got a wonderful manager, and he helps us do whatever we want to do, and we make sure that we hold him accountable for what he needs to do for the fairgrounds and the fair. Thanks.
Any questions or comments on principle number 9? No? Okay. Round of applause for principle number 9. Thank you. And last but not least, principle number 10.
We have 3 different governance operations and represented in our group, plus the new board at the state level. So we have a little bit of difference. We evaluate our CEO. There's a full evaluation. There's two not formal evaluation group, and one from Tillman County, which is going to set up a 90, 60, and a yearly evaluation. So we have evaluations all over the board, and naturally the state group hasn't quite figured out what they're going to be doing yet in evaluations, but I think we're giving them a lot of good information. Second one is a CEO evaluation based upon board agreed criteria, government form, etc. And in all cases, the answer was no. Does your board do annual self-assessments? No. And why or why not? We really didn't get through to the why or why nots. We did talk about how our own evaluations occur through the public coming to our fairs, giving us comments and evaluations on what's going on. But we have directors, not CEOs.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions for principle number 10? Okay, love the annual evaluations. Good job. Okay, round of applause, principle number 10. All righty. So that kind of brings us to the conclusion of this. Again, I encourage you to spend some time with this booklet And reading the whole thing through, there's some great tools in this that will help you work with your board. And, you know, the whole thing is you know, come in and work as a group. The fair is the priority. No personal agendas allowed. And hold your staff accountable. And you guys should all have a great fair. So any overall questions? No? Do you guys have announcements for the rest of the day? What you're doing from now on? Okay, I want to thank you all for participating. I know this isn't always fun. Thank you for meeting new friends and getting out of your comfort zone. And I wish you a wonderful fair season.
Round of applause, everyone. Thank you very much. So we got done a lot quicker than we anticipated, so we actually have a little time. And I know there are several committees that are wanting to meet and spend some time together. So if any committees want to get together right now would be a good time to do that. I know that Don wants to have a foundation meeting. You want to do that now, Don? Is Rachel, do you want the convention committee to get together again and talk about theme? Since there's time. So any committee chairs that want to maybe get their committees together, since we have a little bit of time, go ahead and do that if you want. If not, and you know what, we can actually start our managers meeting early as well. I'm getting a big thumbs up managers meeting now, so